A laparoscopic splenectomy was safe, and the surgeon assured her it will be quick and over and done. You'll see him back in a few minutes, she recalled the doctor saying. It was the last time she saw her oh, hell. Everything is growing, changing, and evolving, even you. From the student nurse to the baby nurse to veteran nurse, off the bedside and into entrepreneurship, you have arrived and you have evolved. And I'm your host, Keisha, the Evolved Nurse, and this episode is going to be short and sweet. I'm not going to try to keep you out here all day. I'm not going to try to keep you out here all night. Whether y'all are listening to it on your phone or listen to it on YouTube or listen to it on your streaming platform, wherever you are, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend because these are episodes that will help them get through their career or figure out career goals. So, welcome to the Evolve Nurse Podcast again. And this episode is in lieu of the last episode. If you watched the last episode, you saw me and Nakia, one of my best friends and one of my first scrub techs, talk about her experience as a surgical technologist. But I don't think I've gone into detail what I do. I think I told y'all a little bit, but I don't think I've gone into detail about what a nurse circulator does. Now, I have also been a charge nurse, but what do I do as a circulator? So, a nurse circulator is someone who makes sure that everybody is safe and compliant in the room. And it seems very simple, right? Just make sure they're doing their job. Well, it's a little bit more involved than that. I'm making sure that the anesthesiologists or CRNA are doing their jobs appropriately, that they're intubating correctly. I'm making sure that they are safe. Our patient is safe. By managing and monitoring the vital signs. That is the anesthesiologist's job. But if I see something that looks a little bit weird or not in the range, I will say, hey, doc, is the patient okay? I'm making sure that I'm checking on them and anticipating their needs as well. So if they are running out of fluid for the patient, I'm normally watching what's going on and circulating the room to make sure that, oh, they need this, oh, they need this, oh, they need this. In addition to that, I'm making sure that the surgeon is participating in a safe manner, that they are scrubbed in appropriately, that they are adhering to sterile processes, that our scrub techs are also doing the same thing. And I'm making sure that all of the instrumentation is clean and sterile. And along with myself, the scrub tech is doing the same thing. So it's a two-person verification that, hey, this doesn't look right. And and for my scrub techs and for my nurse circulators, I have actually found a hole in one of the filters. So make sure that you're holding that filter up to the light because there have been pinholes in those before. But most people don't think about that. They just take it off, they throw it in the trash. Making sure that everything is sterile and that everybody is compliant. That's what a nurse circulator does. We anticipate, we're running for things, we're making sure that the documentation is done appropriately, that is the correct site, that is the correct surgery, that is the correct person. Everybody is doing all of these things to make sure that everything is safe in the OR, not just me, but myself, the surgical technologist, the surgeon, and the anesthesiologist. And sometimes you have to have your x-ray techs in there. Everybody is there for the benefit of that patient, and I make sure that I am the person that is circulating the room. So what does circulating mean? That means that in every aspect you're able to see what's going on in your room. So I'm walking my room from this point to this point to this point if I need to. There are times where in our ortho cases, if it gets really, really bloody, there are times where I'm looking at my output volume versus how much they had on the irrigation versus how much the anesthesiologist is giving. And I'm looking at the blood pressure to see if anything is changing and shifting. And I might say, hey, doc, you have an output of X, Y, and Z, and we didn't use that much irrigation. Do you want to get blood for this case? Those are the things that the circulator is going to see before our anesthesiologist catches it because it's on the field. In addition to that, there has been a few situations in the latelys that reflect things happening in the OR that should not happen. So recently, and I'm just gonna go over here. So recently, the Washington Post said, and this was in August the 21st in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see a date on here. I see a picture from 2022. But Beverly Bryan was confident on August 21st as her husband headed to the surgery to have his spleen removed at a Florida hospital. Bryan, a retired registered nurse, knew the procedure. A laparoscopic splenectomy was safe, and the surgeon assured her it will be quick and over and done. You'll see him back in a few minutes, she recalled the doctor saying. It was the last time she saw her oh, hell. Okay, I didn't get to this point. It was the last time she saw her husband alive. Now, nearly 6 months later, Bryan is suing the surgeon Thomas J. Chovinsky and the hospital where he operated on her husband, accusing them of wrongful death and medical malpractice. I want to skip over that. Oh, hold on. Let me go back to that. In a 119-page complaint filed on January 30th in Florida's, I'm not supposed to be talking about all of this, y'all. I was not supposed to get into this. It's supposed to be a short and sweet episode. But now we are looking at Mr. Bryan getting offed by Chauvinsky, the doctor, by mistakenly removing his liver. I did hear about this and I didn't report on it, y'all. Then participated in conspiracy that included the CEO, the hospital CEO. Girl, girl, girl. All right. So we're just going to go over to a surgeon removed the wrong organ, then covered it up. The widow alleges in a suit. And so I did not know initially that this case led to a passing of a patient. But this is why circulators, surgeons, anesthesiologists, the surgical technologists, the x-ray tech, everyone in the room is a very vital and important person in this room because of things like this. This patient went in for a splenectomy, a laparoscopic splenectomy, meaning that they're going to go in with a scope and they're going to remove the spleen. The wife of this patient was a nurse, so they knew the procedure. Like, lap splenectomies are pretty quick, and that was the last time that she saw her husband. Her husband ended up passing away, and then 6 months later, she sued the surgeon, and she also sued the hospital for wrongful death and medical malpractice, and then said that the hospital was participating in conspiracy. And it included the hospital CEO and CMO because they tried to cover up a fatal error by doctoring the death certificate and other state records. That is crazy. That is why it's very important that everybody across the board are communicating with each other effectively. Because, like Nakia said on that episode, sometimes we're not even on that step yet. And I have to say, no doubt, we're not on that step. Sometimes you have to, if you know the surgery, you have to be like, you have to learn what your voice is. And that's what you have to do as an OR circulator, as a nurse, as a anesthesiologist. If you know, I did have a CRNA on my podcast, and Chief Rochelle, she actually talked about her experience as a CRNA and having a voice to speak up, because sometimes in certain situations, you may not feel as comfortable saying the things that you need to say, but you have to move in discomfort, because what ends up happening is these are patients' lives on the line. And if you don't have your own nursing voice, especially in the OR, you will get overshadowed sometimes by things that are wrong, sometimes by patient sometimes by surgeons making you feel like you don't have a voice, and you have to speak up even in the toughest situations. You got to take a deep breath and you got to say it, because things like this are happening all over the place. There was also recently a Maine woman sued Northern Light Health after a surgeon mistakenly removed most of her bladder. And she was supposed to be going to get an ovarian cyst removed, but she ended up getting her bladder removed. And pathologists later reviewed the tissue that was removed from the first surgery and found there were full fragments of her bladder. So she had gone back to surgery for a second time. And that's when she discovered that her bladder had been removed because she was having intense pain and difficulty urinating after her cyst removal. But Michelle also claimed that the lawsuit that she did not give informed consent to the surgeon because she was not informed of the risk involving her bladder when she signed the consent. Just because a patient signs an informed consent, that doesn't give medical provider that doesn't give the medical provider a free pass to give substandard care. And that ain't no lie, y'all. That's not a lie. And so I wonder what happened with that case. I'm going to update y'all later on about that case once I get the details. I was just looking through some cases and seeing what is going on in the surgical world. But actually, for my OR circulators, there was a case a few years ago where they blamed us for the mistake of the surgeon. They blamed us. They was like, y'all need to know what's going on in the field. And so a lot of us don't even know what surgery we're doing. We're just doing the surgery because we work at the place and they said do the surgery, but we've never done that surgery before. But we know how to circulate. So we about to get in here and circulate. But we need to know the cases. We need to know the cases as well. Now, was it your fault? Most likely no. But a lot of the people who sit sit in those seats to make these judgments, these suits, they have no idea what goes on in the OR. Most people don't know what goes on in the OR. I just explained to you what my role is in the OR, but is everybody else's role in the OR? So here on the podcast, you have now my role, you now have Nakia's role, you now have Chief Rochelle's role. So you get a general consensus of what goes on in the OR. We just haven't had a surgeon on yet. We haven't had an X-ray tech. So we'll be looking into that soon. So any X-ray techs or surgeons, if you want to come on to the podcast and talk about your experience and what it's like to be in the OR or what it's like to be an X-ray technologist, definitely reach out to me and let me know, and we can coordinate our schedules so that you can get here on the podcast, because I think that is very important for all of us to work together. And that's what I love about creating certain environments, is that making sure that you're communicating with each other effectively is something that I love to do anyway. Either I am there to make sure that we're facilitating communication on every level, or I'm making sure that we're facilitating communication on every level. Period. But I'm really talking out my hair right now because I'm tired and I got to work in the morning. So I will talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good one. So as usual, down in the description, you will see that there's Black Girl Vitamins as well as Yoni Potion. You will get 10% off of Yoni Potion, and you will also get a percentage off of Black Girl Vitamins. As you know, Black Girl Vitamins does have vitamin D3, probiotics, sea moss, collagen, all of the things. If you need something, they may have it. So reach out to them as well. And with Yoni Potion, that is a reproductive health drink that is made by nurses for women and their yonis, of course. And you will receive 10% off of that as well. So make sure that you're visiting those websites, because those are Black women owned companies, and they are really, really good for our health, for our bodies, and for us to be able to move forward. I'm about to turn 31, y'all. And honestly, I need to get myself together. So with that being said, y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.